Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Normal America Show. Host robnoerr. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. I am, even though I'm at work. I'd rather be with the family, but it was a good day at work. Here in western Pennsylvania, the weather was tremendous today. Really a day. You forget sometimes when you live here and it's cold and snowy. It's like, oh yeah, this is actually a beautiful place. So nice to get out there. And enjoyed myself this evening. So I thought I'd do a earlier stream today. We'll see how long we go. A little earlier than normal. Had a chance to clock out. So it's been a fun day. I've been very busy, so I haven't had time to read much of the news. But I read enough of it to kind of put together a show here. Now, I don't know how entertaining this show will be to everyone, because I thought of just laughing for 2 hours and not even explaining the context. But I guess we'll talk a little about Supreme Court decisions and what have. I haven't had a chance to actually read the decision thoroughly, but I got the gist of it, which is, oh man, I don't know. There's two ways to look at today, and we'll get to both of them. It was a close one. Yeah, we do have more time with the cold than the heat. That damn groundhog lied to us, too. He said spring was right around the corner. Then we got snow after that. By the way, I was in Punxsy yesterday. So, for those of you that don't know, I always say, where I'm at, I'm an hour and 45 minutes northeast of Pittsburgh, which is generally the landmark that people would understand since I'm in rural PA here. But the place I'm actually closer to that people might know is Punxsutawney, where Punxsutawney Phil, Groundhog Day, that's near me. It's not far at all, probably 40 minutes away. So, and I lived a little closer growing up, probably about 30 minutes away from Punxsutawney. So, yeah. And I've gone there once to Gobbler's Knob for Groundhog Day when I was in high school. Did not enjoy myself. It was a freezing evening, so. Yeah, Roland, that's what I should be doing, right? Oh, man. I saw that flank. Man, they're trying to do that. So, I guess we'll start by saying this. Certainly it's a day to laugh at the so-called legal experts, and we'll talk about that. But before we get into the sort of just mockery of those people, maybe it's time to take a step back and realize just how close we are to just outright authoritarianism. If the left has their way and packs the court, or 5 to 10 years from now just get the justices that they need, and they no longer fear a backlash, there is zero bulwark at this point. Let's be honest, it's not just a left-right situation, it is an establishment versus the rest of us situation, and they control every institution so much that we could literally have serious conversations about, should we just kick off the front runner from the political party we don't like? Can we do that? Sure, why not? Can we just lock up his supporters? Sure. Oh, you live in the border of Ohio? I'm on Interstate 80, so if I'm heading to Ohio, the border town would be Sharon, Pennsylvania. And then you get right into Ohio. And frequent that way a lot because I used to have some friends that lived in Youngstown, so spent a reasonable amount of time in actually Niles, Ohio, but then we would go to Youngstown. Plus, my mom's a big fan of the Foo Fighters, and she always got a kick out of when I was in Youngstown. I would go through, they got this alley called Dave Grohl Alley, where they got big murals of Dave Grohl. She's a big fan of that. I'd take pictures of that. So. But yeah, that's how close we are. Now, it's obvious that the argument for allowing the states to kick Trump off the ballot when he hasn't even been charged criminally with insurrection is a joke. But what if the court would have been like, yeah, we're good with that? Then where are we as a country? We literally got down to the last line of defense. And make no mistake about it, that as radical that you're seeing of prosecutors like Fani Willis, Letitia James, it's only going to get worse. You understand that? As each new generation comes, they become more and more radical. They're being indoctrinated to radical leftist ideology where they think the ends justifies the means and they don't care what the law says. They just don't care. And so 20 years from now, the makeup of the court will probably be different. What will that look like? And so it is a day to laugh at the so-called legal experts that were telling you that this was a sound legal theory in Colorado. I don't know if you know, particularly with the makeup of the court the way it is now, how rare a 9-0 decision on a landmark idea like this is. It is as much of a rebuke as possible. It got laughed out of court. And yet, legal expert after legal expert that you saw me debate, or other people debate, or that were posting on X, or that were in the mainstream media was telling you, oh, no, this is a sound theory. It's a sound theory. I honestly, I knew it would either be, at minimum, I knew it would be a 7-2. 8-1, 9-0 was what I was guessing. Anywhere between 7-2 and 9-0. It deserved to be a 9-0. It deserved to be laughed out. And it's fun to see that the Democrat narrative didn't change with it being a 9-0. So you see news articles today, Clarence Thomas keeps insurrectionist Trump on the ballot. Yeah, and the other 8 justices as well. The Supreme Court's too radical, it's got to go. They're protecting Trump, I saw people say. Right. Sotomayor and Jackson are protecting Trump. Right. Yep, that sounds reasonable. It's tons of coping too. It's very reminiscent to Trump winning in 2016. Right? Watching MSNBC today with like tears in their eyes. Keith Olbermann in one of the all-time cell phones, someone said he's shouting about the need to get rid of the court. And so someone posts like, look at those tears. And Olbermann says, it's not tears, it's piss. So Keith Olbermann proudly taking to X, calling for the abolishment of the Supreme Court, and then announcing he's pissed on his face. Oh, man. It's an attack on democracy. If we can't remove our political opponents from the ballot, it's an attack on democracy. Now, let it be known, I don't call myself an expert on pretty much anything. I think I'm a reasonable debater. I wouldn't necessarily call myself an expert at debate. Other than that, I'm just some jack-off redneck with opinions. But it's funny to see the people that are self-proclaimed legal experts that were so adamant that this was a legitimate case, that the Colorado ruling was legitimate. It's hilarious. And now they're out there today. No. The 9 justices are all wrong. They're all wrong. Trust me. Internet pundit guy. French toast versus waffles, not even... French toast wins 99 out of 100 times, in my opinion. But maybe I'm not an expert, because I'll tell you right now, when it comes to waffles, it's hard to beat an Eggo. Like, it just is. There's something about the texture of them. Think of how ridiculous is a place where I don't have anything lined up with Pisco. I haven't read the court hearing yet. So I know Pisco's argument's basically this, that the nuanced way in which the court ruled is incorrect. So, for example, if Pisco calls in tonight, because I haven't had a chance to read the whole ruling, it's going to be very simple. It would just be me being like, dude, take that big fucking fat L, as you should. And he'll go, but I predicted. Right, you didn't predict no 9-0, did you? They're all wrong. They're wrong because of blah, 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 blah. And I'll just hold up a sign that says 9-0. Keep coping. They kicked Trump off the ballot. They accepted some rape claim from some woman who got a plot from Law & Order SVU. They claimed she was assaulted. Thank you so much, Ten Goat. I appreciate this help. I really do. She was assaulted at a department store years ago. Didn't really tell anyone. And they fined him $500 million in New York almost. Why? For doing what every real estate developer does. Fannie Willis has a RICO case of herself. The update in that case is hilarious, where now you have, not only is the prosecutor she hired, Wade's ex-wife, now going to testify that they were sleeping together, involved in a relationship before she hired him, but actually another person is now testifying that Bradley, who was the divorce attorney for Wade, told her specifically, yeah, they were dating as far back as 2019. In other words, they're all lying under oath. They can't run on their record. You see, this is always the case for the establishment. The establishment isn't good for you or me or the average person. It's not good for them at all. And so they have to use propaganda in order to win elections. And they have to use malfeasance. And they have to censor people. They have to control the narrative. Because they can't just run on the record. They'll try. They'll manipulate the data and tell you, actually, the economy's doing phenomenally. Actually, the border's secure. Actually, everything we did in response to COVID was wonderful. Actually, the world's safer now than it's ever been. But the lies will only take you so far. They only take you so far. And then people were like, nah, I don't believe it. Okay. Well, our opponents are racist and Nazis and insurrectionists. Were they both whining today on stream? Say it ain't so. Is that true, Roland? They said he'd never get a 9-0. Yeah, the plan was, and again, all of these court cases, like the kicking Trump off the ballot, they assumed it wouldn't work. But the plan was to have it be like a 6-3. Then they could say, see, we need to pack the court. The court's illegitimate. That was the plan. All of this stuff has the benefit of, if it works, it works. Great. Trump's kept off the ballot. You could use lawfare to win the election. If it doesn't, then one of the other institutions that you're attacking, the Supreme Court, you could say, see, they're insurrectionists. They're in bed with Trump. The problem is it's hard to say that with a straight face when it's a 9-0. But they're going to try. They're going to still keep... That's what they're out there doing today. That's what they're saying. Not all of them, but so many of the mainstream people in the Democrats, that's what they're saying today. Remember when it was against norms to attack a judge or a justice? You remember that? When Trump would say, I don't like that decision, they'd say, oh, you can't say that. Is that what they said, man? I'm not surprised. Yeah, I guess if they packed 10 more people in the court, and if it was a 19-0, then we'd need to pack 20 more? Is that how we'd have to do it? All right, 49 justices unanimously ruled he should be on the ballot, but we'll add another 50 and see what they have to say. Yeah, that's exactly right, Roland. The backup plan is to keep Trump mired in legal woes, to harm him financially so that he won't have the money in order to compete when it comes into the election. Yeah, and it's the accusations. That's right. Oh, he's been accused of something. And again, if you're looking at this, there's two ways to look at it. One, Trump is literally the most corrupt person that's ever lived, and he's head and shoulders worse than any other politician we've ever had, so he's facing 90 indictments. Or second, Chuck Schumer was right when he said criticizing the intel agencies would find 6 ways of Sunday at getting back at you, and they would take him down, and so that's exactly what they're doing. And I think I show in my channel every day that that's clearly the case. That's clearly what's going on. And the problem is, even if there is one of these court cases that is ridiculous, it shows the unprecedented need. Like, for example, let's say that you might think, well, the classified documents case, maybe that's a case worth going after Trump. Maybe I think he broke the law there. But if you also simultaneously agree, well, the Letitia James case was garbage, or the Colorado kicking him off the ballot was garbage, then you have to ask yourself, are you okay with that lawfare? You okay with that? Because the argument, when you get right down to specifics, I'll tell you, you want to know what Pisco's argument is? You want to know what all the lefties' argument that wanted Trump off this ballot? You want to really, deep down, want to know what it is? I'll sum it up for you. It's the same argument they have about everything. Ready? Trump's evil. Anything we could do to stop him, we should do. That's it. How else do you say when Trump says peaceful? We know he meant be violent. They've made up their mind. And you can see this. For example, I told you Jim Iorio, I think's his name. I don't know that he's a big Trump supporter or anything like that. He put out a tweet after the Judge Erdogan decision to fine Trump like $500 million and was like, can anyone show me a similar case of someone being fined a hefty amount like this, being accused of doing what Trump did, where the banks were okay with it, and can anyone show me anything similar? And basically the response to that tweet from a bunch of people that don't like Trump was, but Trump's so corrupt. He's so corrupt in so many ways. Right. So it doesn't matter if this is a unique situation. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if this wouldn't apply to anyone else. Trump's bad, so it should apply to him no matter what. Ends always justify the means. Oh, okay, we got struck down in a 9-0. Whatever, bring on the next lawsuit. Doesn't matter. That's the truth. And you can see it when I debated Pisco on this, right? When we would say things like this, like, okay, Section 3 of the 14th also says, if you've given aid or comfort to an enemy of the United States. So wouldn't that be like unfreezing money and sending it to Iran? No, that's different. When they say aid and comfort, they only mean domestic enemies of the United States. If they only meant domestic, why didn't they say that? Thanks, Randy West, for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Is there a larger lesson to learn about the banks, though, when you could potentially go to jail for when the bank agrees to? I mean, the problem is, to get right down to that case, again, I don't know how to make this, like, simple. They're operating on a massive scale, people like Trump and real estate developers. But if you've ever owned a house, you know that the value of that there are multiple values of your house. For example, there is the price you could get for selling your house today. I remember growing up, I went through this phase when I was probably like 10 or 11, where I'd go to the county fair, and they'd always have like the flea market type setup, and there were guys selling baseball cards. And somewhere, probably at my parents' house, I have a Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card. And I remember I bought this book, and I was looking like, ooh, how much are these cards worth? Oh, Ken Griffey Jr. rookie. It's worth like $40, and I spent $5 for it. And I was like, you know, as a young guy, I was like, what an impressive financial decision I just made. Now I'll save this card. It'll be worth millions someday. And I remember my dad telling me, Rob, it doesn't matter what that book says. That card's only worth what someone's willing to pay for. That book could say it's worth $10,000. And if you take that card and you put it up at auction and it goes for $5, that's what it's worth. That's the truth. So there's the real value. Right, neighbor guy says there's the appraised value, the taxable value, the insurable value, the replacement value. Right. So what you want to sell your house for, what you want to get insurance on your house for. So for example, I know a person, a friend of mine bought a home, right? Home sold for $80,000. Mortgage on the house, what the bank was willing to give, they appraised it at $95,000. So the mortgage, that's what the mortgage people, the bank gave for it. The house for a tax assessment is around $60,000. The insurance on the house is $200,000. And I understand it's complicated. It's a long case. But remember what Letitia James put out when she's talking about the value of Mar-a-Lago. She didn't say, well, we sent assessors out and we assessed the value at $200 million or $400 million, but Trump said it was $1 billion. What she did was used the tax assessment, which is a joke, and everyone knows it. Everybody knows that the tax assessment is 99.9% lower than the sellable value of the house. Everyone knows that. If you've ever bought a house, you might be like, that sounds crazy. That sounds corrupt. It's not. That's the way it is for everyone. That's the way it would be for you if you buy a house. So it applies to everyone, and yet they only go after Trump. Right. Hunter selling art for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yep. So my understanding in the Trump case particularly was not only did first off, think of it this way. A bank's always going to assess, right? They're not just going to take your word for it. Like, for example, the house I own, if I go to the bank tomorrow and say, I'd like $500,000, that's what I feel my house is worth, they're not going to be like, okay, sounds reasonable. Because they would get ripped off. Because I would take that money and say, thank you very much, never pay a mortgage payment. They would seize my house and I just made $400,000. They're not going to do that. They're going to do their due diligence. My understanding in the Trump case was that he signed a document basically saying, these are my estimates, but the bank needs to assess themselves, which the bank did, I believe, and was happy with their assessment. Right, they're going to want to make money. The idea is, right, because think about it, if you're the bank, right, you want every transaction you're making as a bank is to make money. So if you're lending someone money, of course you're going to charge interest on it, but you need to have some sort of collateral, right? Just think about it if it's you and you're going to lend a friend money, right? And you don't trust that your friend will pay you back. So you might say, okay, man, how about this? You sign over that car to me, which I think the car is worth $4,000, and I'll lend you $4,000. Then you could have the car back when you pay me back. The bank's not going to just give money, because if it defaults, they're holding the bag. So if it defaults, they're going to take the property now, the home. And they're not going to give you $500,000 for a home that they can only sell for $50,000. They're not going to do it. But it doesn't matter for these legal experts. It doesn't matter. They really don't give a shit. It doesn't matter to them. It doesn't matter if they get overturned. That's the beauty of it. Have these ridiculous... And there'll be no punishment. Do you think Letitia... Like, Judge Aragon's not going to get punished. Letitia James, she's not going to get punished for this terrible case. Now, it may turn out that she has some campaign finance problems. But that's separate from this terrible case. There's only a positive incentive. And if you don't... All you have to do is understand this. Individual people can be moral, righteous people. They can. But when you broaden it to a group of people, you could guess things on the average. For example, I briefly worked for a life insurance company. How does a life insurance company make money? Well, they have a very thorough I don't want to use, like, I don't know what the word would be, like, not algorithm, but basically, they're able, by looking at some key facts of a single person, to guess in the average what that person's life expectancy will be. Then they tailor their interest rates, etc., their payouts, how much you would have to pay for a premium, based on that. Then they also try to calculate what they assume, like, the value of inflation and other things like that will be. So this works out so that they might be wrong about you. You might get a life insurance policy for $5 million, pay one month's premium, and then die. And let's say that premium of yours was $400. Now you paid $400 and your family gets $5 million. Wow, looks like the life insurance company lost huge. But the truth is, over the whole population of people, there are many people that stop paying their premiums. And so then the tens of thousands of dollars they paid in, they never see a dime. They have this figured out to a science. The same is true of human behavior in other ways. There was a claim, Mad Ned, that Trump said that the place was like 33,000 square feet and it's only 11,000 square feet. That'd be a simple error that you can make. Do you own a house or an apartment? What's the square footage? Again, when the bank's going to check into it, all the bank would have to do was go to the tax assessment website to see the... So the idea that if you put the wrong number for square footage and the bank misses it, that you could be sued for $500 million is ludicrous. So when you have... That's why the human population in general, or national population, if you incentivize a bad behavior, it will eventually happen. Trump is 100% guilty on most of his shit. Man is a serial criminal. Good take. So, for example, if you make it so there is no punishment whatsoever to being an activist, prosecutor, or judge, but there's huge amounts of incentives. You get national fame, you're going to get speaking tours, book deals, you'll be celebrated by all these people on the left. You can guarantee that the end result of that will eventually be people taking advantage of that system and becoming activists. Guaranteed. If you set up a system where it's impossible to audit elections, you can guarantee that eventually people will take advantage of that and be corrupt during elections. That doesn't mean that it's happening in this specific incident or in that specific incident, but it is inevitable that it will happen. Yeah, that's exactly right, Roland Stott. So when you have people like Letitia James that wins her election for Attorney General saying, I promise I'll find some way to get Trump. What will the possible consequences be for her for bringing this case? Nothing. None. The worst possible consequence she will face is losing the case. Which she probably won't do because there's a judge who also has no incentive whatsoever to do the right thing, and instead every incentive to go after Trump. And in their heads, they think we're going after Hitler. Right, Curtis. Same with Biden, Obama, Hillary, Bill, Pence, Bush. Pretty much every mainstream politician, Eric Swalwell. Again, it's the same old tired argument. Black guy was speeding. Right, but the police only pull over black guys. And they allow white guys that go way faster and never charge them. Doesn't matter. Wasn't the black person speeding? Doesn't matter. Did Trump say it was 11,000 square feet in his home? Well, that's all that matters. Then find him $500 million. That's a factual misstatement. $500 million. That's how we do it. Right, here's a laundry list of other people that have made similar mistakes or said similar things. Doesn't matter. That's whataboutism. Trump's a serial criminal. You have to go after him. Same old shit. Again, this is literally they don't give a shit. The rules don't apply to them or the people they like. And then, of course, I can't even see... wait, 1 second. You remember when Tim Pool was on Joe Rogan's show with Vijay Gotti and Jack Dorsey? And they'd be like, oh, Steven Crowder broke our terms of service. In what way? Well, calls for violence. Okay, here we see Vox Day doing even worse. Well, we'll have to look into that. The rules don't apply to them. They don't give a shit. And then, of course, the next step is, I can predict what Curtis will say next. You ready? Oh, well, if any of those other people broke the law, then you could go after them as well. Right, but they didn't. Now what? He was in court constantly for cheating business partners trying to scam his partners. Cool, charge him for that. What's that have to do with $500 million now? And? I don't give a shit. Again, this is what I said they'd say earlier. Well, you have this specific case. Well, Trump's just a shitty guy, so he has it coming. There you go. I have addressed your point. Your point was, did he make a factual statement that was incorrect this time? Yes. He put down that it was 11,000 square feet, and it was, he put down it was 33,000 square feet, and it was actually 11. One, it's still on the due diligence of the banks to check it. Second, the banks were still happy with it. Third, the banks still did an assessment and thought the value of the house was what they thought. Fourth, it would have been easy to look into that by simply going to the tax assessor. Fifth, a misstatement of fact in the sense that you just had one number that was incorrect doesn't prove that you should be fined $500 million. Sixth, the idea that he did a bunch of shitty things, privates with business people prior to this, has zero relevance on this case whatsoever. 7, we know that people like Mr. Wonderful has said that this is how almost every real estate person has done. 8, we can see Letitia James ran on getting Trump and has actually bragged about this on places like social media. It shows how unprofessional she is, and this was just a grab to go after Trump. 9, we can see that Letitia James said that the actual value of that house should have been the tax assessed value, which is ludicrous and you wouldn't use for anyone else. There, I responded to it in 9 fucking ways, you idiot. And he did write a disclaimer, right, which would be 10. But you didn't respond. Yes, gish galloping does address it. What you call gish galloping is me citing facts that address it. What happens is, when someone cites multiple facts that address it, you just saying gish gallop doesn't address the facts that I said. Anything else you'd like to say, Curtis? Would you like to call in? It is diet. Ugh. Yeah, sorry, Nico. It's the way it is. This computer, when I use Restream, it really overheats. But just laugh at these people. That's what they deserve, to be laughed at. Again, if we had any, for example, if Letitia James has a mortgage, and that mortgage that she got from the bank is more than the tax assessed value, then also she's lied then, right? And that would be the same of Joe Biden. If we look into Joe Biden's mortgage and his mortgage was worth more than the tax assessed value, then he lied, correct? Accusing me of gish galloping when I say the multiple ways in which I address this is just a clever way of him saying I can't respond to any of the facts that you said addressing it, and so I'll just use a term that I've heard some other streamer use. That's it. Oh, yeah, I know, Nico. It is funny. His computer sucks. Okay, Curtis says, LMAO, hungry for the disagreement, Rob. I don't need to get yelled over while you scream that everyone breaks the law, so don't hold Trump accountable. Okay, take it easy. We'll spare you the getting yelled at part then. There we go. Another coward comes in and says, I know I'd get wrecked, so I'll just sit here in the chat. So you can sit in the chat by yourself. Enjoy. So anyways, Supreme Court ruling today. Where's all the experts? Yeah, I hear you, just kidding. I know he's been coping, Aircraft Sparky. So have all the other lefty legal experts. One second, I'm going to check something. By the way, did they get to the... Did they get to the her report yet? Did they get to that? They get to Joe Biden? They get to that part yet? Joe Biden? They all said, oh, it was an obvious crime when Trump read his classified material, said he had classified material on tape to a writer. Oh boy, that was evidence of a crime. Oh boy. They get to that yet? Imagine being a lawyer, a self-proclaimed legal expert, and being so wrong on this. Even reasonable left-wing legal minds were like, yeah, this is clearly a bullshit case. Oh no, I know Pisco supposedly spent like 40 hours going through it. Still haven't seen him comment. Why won't Pisco talk to me about the Hurt stuff? I don't know, maybe he will. I haven't really thrown out the offer. I just asked him why he hasn't put anything on Twitter, and I haven't seen anything. The last I saw, he was on part 3 of his multi-hour excursion going step by step through the Hurt report. He can't talk about it until he goes through it all. Now, he could talk about the confidential human source that was arrested, and he could talk about a bunch of other stuff. Anything that looks bad for Trump, he could talk about immediately. But when it looks bad for Biden, just give me... You realize Wednesday it will be 1 month. 1 month since the Hur report came out. Dozens of people I argued with that said, either on stream or on X, that said, Trump saying he had classified material to a writer on tape is clear-cut evidence of a crime. And now we have Joe Biden not only doing that, doing it 3 times, and then proceeding to read the classified material, which Trump never did. And where are they? We're 2 days away from a month. Where are they? None of them have had a comment. But trust them, mishandling classified documents. Oh my God, it's super serious. Of course, just kidding. Of course, that's how they operate. Yeah, I don't give a shit on why the Democrat judges dissent, or also went against it. Right, I know. I saw a cipher saying that. They thought they had to because of what would happen in the country. Sure. So they intentionally ruled on a way that they knew was incorrect, is the argument here. Yep, that's absolutely right, Vietnam. No comment. Yep, that's what I was just talking about, Big Bacon Love. I did see that, yep. Does anyone for a second think that, for example, take any one of these Trump cases, right? Does anyone for a second think that if Trump wins the 2024 election, and Democrats are like, we're going to have alternate electors, and Joe Biden's calling people, it's like, alternate electors, does anyone for a second think that all the people that said that that was a coup, that was an insurrection, are going to have a problem with it? Anyone? They'd be like, well, Trump's illegitimate. He stole the election. stole the election. Trust us, he still stole the election. That's right, whatever's necessary. That's how they look at things. I can't search things on my computer or it'll overheat, so. Just checking. All that matters is Orange Man bad. I've explained what these people are about over and over again. If they have to say, sure, Biden should go down too, sure, Hillary should go down too, it doesn't matter. All that matters is stopping Trump. That's all that matters. Because they're lemmings. And then after Trump, whoever it would be in 2028, DeSantis, anyone who's seen as a threat to the establishment, RFK, it'll be the same narrative. The exact same thing. Whatever, 500,000 felonies, pack the court, do what you can, arrest him, whatever. Just take him down, whatever, okay? Let's get back to the days of Bush, Clinton. Let's get back to that agree with each other on 95% of this stuff. I used to say all the time, if you didn't look at the dates and you didn't know who was president, and I just showed you a list of foreign policy from the Bush administration to the Obama administration, you wouldn't be able to tell me where one ended and the next began. You wouldn't. That's what they want. We like the parties in 90% of agreement. And what are they in agreement with? Fuck you. That's what they're in agreement with. Screw you, average person. Your voice doesn't mean shit. And that's true if you're an average rural conservative or an average urban liberal. They don't give a shit what you think. And that's the biggest threat, having someone outside that paradigm. That's the biggest threat. That's what the institutions can't accept. And that's what they convince their little bootlicking lackeys, these legal experts, etc., the streamers that you see, that's what they convince them of. No. Norms. Trump violates norms. Therefore, we have to keep him off the ballot. Therefore, we need to use the Logan Act that we've never used before to go after Flynn. Therefore, we have to get FISA warrants to spy on his campaign. We need 51 former intel officials to say that stories about his opponent aren't true. We need those stories censored. I saw Haley won DC, yeah. Surprise. Did I see the Litoscope? That the metadata of the PDF they used the template format of a non-unanimous decision. No, but I'm not surprised. Why can't they just, have an... Again, I'm still predicting there's a 95% chance Trump loses a general election. But that's not good enough for them. That's not good enough. They can't even accept a 1% chance, not after 2016, because they thought they had a 95% chance of winning that election. So they're scared. Even with all the game rigged in their favor. The mass change. Did you see now? I think it was Pennsylvania. They said, we're going to have a disinformation. Governor Shapiro said, we're going to have a disinformation council looking at messaging, social media going into the 2024 election. Then where was it? Illinois said, we're no longer going to show whether the ballots were mail-in ballots, absentee ballots, in-day person. Then you had, who was it? Merrick Garland saying, we're going to get rid of voter ID. We need to fight against voter ID. They don't give a shit. They can't run a... And by the way, I'm not saying the Republicans as an establishment group are any better. I'm not. Same bullshit. Let's be equal opportunity bashers here. Do you remember when Republicans ran almost exclusively on repeal and replace Obamacare? Okay, 2016, they had the presidency, the House, and the Senate. Did they do it? Did they secure the border? Mitch McConnell was too worried about saving money. But now he'll send billions of your dollars, way more than it would have cost to build the wall, to Ukraine. Oh, did you see the latest on that? Now it turns out that, the minister of Germany or something admits that you actually have European and U.S. boots on the ground helping direct attacks against Russia. Oh boy, edging closer to World War III. Good stuff. But you were just a conspiracy theorist if you believe that. You were just a crazy conspiracy theorist. Anyway, send billions more, don't worry about it. It won't be the senators' kids that are over there fighting. Thanks, Nico, yeah. Hit the like button, for goodness sakes. Doesn't cost you any money. Nah, I appreciate all of you, I do. And it's funny, it's fun to have a day like today. It really is. Don't get me wrong. It's fun to laugh at the legal experts and then watch them scramble. Whoa, blah, 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 blah. Now I know what the next argument's going to be. But you'll say on the presidential immunity, I am predicting right now as a non-legal expert that Trump will not win the presidential immunity case. And, as I said to Pondering, I'm not so sure he should, in my opinion. It's a difficult question. On one hand, it seems absurd to think that other than impeachment and conviction, that a president can do whatever they want while in office, and it's not a crime. That seems absurd. For example, if a president says, I'm going to order the military to arrest my opponents, possibly do even worse to them, that wouldn't be a crime unless he's impeached. That seems ridiculous. On the other hand, if you say, well, no, the presidents don't have criminal immunity, then why isn't Barack Obama in jail? For droning an American without a trial. That's murder. So there has to be some sort of middle ground. There has to be. I don't know exactly how the court will rule, but I don't think I want them to say that a president has complete immunity. Again, I understand the best argument is, but they don't, because they could be impeached and convicted. You think he'll win that case, Sparky? Maybe. I don't think so. I don't think he'll win it. I think he'll lose on it. 7-2. Clip it. Is a non-legal expert. That's my prediction. But some prosecutor needs to bring a charge immediately to Barack Obama. There's no statute of limitations on murder. And it wouldn't just apply to Obama, but all of the generals that carried it out. We'll see, Sparky. We'll see what happens. So, anyone who's watching and going, oh, wait until we win this court case, Rob will be coping. No, I'm predicting Trump will lose. That case, I am. Maybe a direct reading of, or maybe the courts say, listen, the way the Constitution is written is the president has criminal immunity, and then maybe an amendment's passed that says, okay, then we're going to change that. And maybe the amendment says something like, that criminal immunity is allowed to be revoked following 75% of the House and Senate voting to. I don't know. But it is a difficult... I even saw Rakita Law talk about that. It's difficult. It's difficult to think about these things. We've never had so many activist prosecutors, political people sabotaging the system to go after a sitting president or a former president. We've never had that. In fact, we even saw things like Nixon being pardoned by Ford. There's a long tradition of not going after the former president. Yeah, I agree, Alley Cat. It probably makes the most sense. And again, let me be clear. I'm not looking specifically at the text of the Constitution or prior cases when I say this. But probably the best possible outcome is for the courts to rule, yes, the presidents do have criminal immunity unless they are impeached and convicted on impeachment. Then they could be criminally charged. And that would be true of Trump or Biden or Obama or Clinton, etc., etc. Because there probably needs, particularly in such a politically charged environment, to be some sort of bulwark that requires a large group, large majority of our politicians to agree before you could weaponize the legal system to go after opponents. It would be a win for Trump in this sense, but I'm not looking at it as just a win for Trump. I would be looking at it because if you're a Democrat, right, and Trump wins, who's to say Trump's not like, okay, cool, now I'm going after Biden and the whole Biden administration. And we're just going to find a favorable prosecutor and go after them all for actions they took. And then when the next Democrat wins, saying, okay, we're going to go after the last guy too. Is that really the system we want? I don't know. That's different. Saying what would be best in the practically is different than saying, well, what does the Constitution say? Which is the courts should be looking at this and interpreting the law. Not saying, well, we're going to change the law based on how we think would operate most smoothly. Right, the Dems are creating this system. That's right. But again, I'm predicting that Trump will lose that case. But there was more testimony in the another person, what was his name? Oh boy. Whose transcript was released. I think we'll talk about that tomorrow, but he says, let's see what he says. Jason Galanis testified the entire value of the ad of Hunter Biden was his family name and access to his father, Vice President Joe Biden, or as Galanis called it, the Biden lift. Hunter Biden called his father and used his father to close deals with the Chinese and Russians. The Department of Justice is retaliating against Galanis, possibly. The Chinese investors thought after Biden was done being vice president that he would be on the board. And he testified that one of the calls that Joe Biden took was pre-scheduled, meaning it wasn't just a happen chance, hey, how's the weather? But we'll talk about that more tomorrow, more into that case. So we'll avoid that for this evening. Didn't I make the same kind of argument as to why SCOTUS didn't even look at election interference case brought by Trump? Yes, that's absolutely true. But there's two things to say about that. One, I don't think the liberal judges are as beholden to, we're worried that this will affect things in a negative way as possibly the conservative judges. And 1A to that is not keeping Trump off the ballot, or keeping... not keeping Trump off the ballot isn't as likely to cause an uproar as much as changing the results of an election. Do you see what I mean? So it's vastly different. But you're right, it's in the same vein. And if that's what the left wants to concede to, okay, now the Supreme Court's just ruling on things because they think that they would piss a lot of people off if they don't, but they know that it's bullshit. Okay, let's go back to the 2020 election then. This is what Ofix sent me. If you double click where it says JJ at the top and then copy and paste it, that line reads Sotomayor J, concurring in part and dissenting in part. If we do so, Control F Sotomayor, and highlights the same line. It looks like the Liberals' opinion was originally cited as a partial dissent written by Sotomayor, but got changed to a concurrence in the judgment authored by all three Liberals. I don't even know what they're trying to say. So basically they're saying, well, originally they were going to dissent, and they started to write it using the form that would have been an original dissent, but then changed to a concurrence? What's the argument here? They were pressured somehow? I mean, for the people that call you a conspiracy theorist all the time, they certainly believe in some outlandish conspiracies. Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying, just kidding. What will things look like 20 years from now? I mean, remember, when we're talking about, like, the Gonzalo Lira thing, how many people said, hey, if a country's attacked and someone's not touting the official line, if they're criticizing, they deserve to be locked up. Okay, remember that when there's a terrorist attack here in 20 years, and the United States says, the government says, oh, now we need to go to war in such and such a place. Just like post 9/11. And you might say, no, I don't see evidence that that place is to blame. I don't think that we should start this war. They're saying you should be locked up. You shouldn't be allowed to have that opinion. This is being said by the left, who used to be the biggest opponents of the Iraq war. Now literally cheering for policies that would lock them up if another Iraq war happened. They don't give a shit. All of it, we spend so much time trying to figure out what's going on. It's very simple, and never lose sight of this. They fucking hate you. They think you're an immoral piece of shit. They think they are morally superior. Therefore, everything is justified that they want to do to you. And they will do it all. They will use minimal force. If you're not really affecting things, they'll leave you have your little channel. If you start to become effective, they'll cheer for your censorship. If you start to do things politically, they'll remove you from the ballot. If that's not working, they'll jail you or bankrupt you. They don't give a shit. It's all justified in the end. I don't know about RFK. We'll have to see as we get closer. I think it's too early to call right now. We'll see where the country's at by then. But yeah, I could see RFK getting anywhere from 6 to 10%. I really could. I would say 4 to 10%. We'll put it there. We'll say 4 to 8%. What am I doing? 6% window? That's crazy. He'll get somewhere between 1 and 80% is my... I'll go 4 to 8%. Yeah, I saw that, Nico. Rural white people, they're the real threat to democracy. I said this the other day. That's, again, think about this. I know it's cliche. Lavin says, We could have had quality candidates, but we had Trump, Biden. I've said this all the time. When you sit back and you look just objectively, if you stand back and look at things from a bird's eye view, you really have to ask yourself, is this the best we could do? By the way, Biden's, I'm still predicting, will not be the nominee. Let's get that straight. In fact, I'm saying that there's probably a 65% chance that Biden won't be the nominee. If the Supreme Court rules that Trump has criminal immunity, there is a 95% chance that Biden won't be the nominee. Because they'll panic and they'll say, oh shit. Because at this point, unfortunately, I think that any alternative Democrat candidate, with few exceptions, will beat Trump. I think Gavin Newsom beats Trump. Michelle Obama, if she would run, would beat Trump. The meltdown's been pretty spectacular, yeah. You think Nikki Haley will be the Democratic candidate? I don't think they'd go that far. It'd be too obvious. But Nikki Haley would beat Trump. Right now, probably Gavin Newsom would be my guess. That's who they would pick. But they don't really have a good bench. Who are you going to pick? But anyone would beat Trump. Just anybody with a pulse that's younger, that you can't tie to significant scandals, that would just come out and say, yeah, the Biden administration's out there right now like, oh yeah, we want to take actions to secure the border. But it's not working because everyone knows they're full of shit. Because they bragged about, we're going to rescind all of Trump's policies and blah, blah. They're just full of shit. Everyone could see that they were full of shit. Well, if you had a new guy come in and say, yeah, it was a mistake. We're going to secure the border. I don't have dementia. He would crush Trump. Kamala might not. She might be one of the few that couldn't. She's so unliked. That's right. There's still people that really hate Trump, and for good reason. Some of it that wouldn't vote for Trump. They're protesting. Basically, the support for both candidates at this point is literally just anger at the other candidate. The majority of the people voting for Biden will be like, I hate Trump. And the majority of the people, well, I don't know about the majority, a large chunk of people voting for Trump will be, I hate Biden. Yeah, I saw that, folks, yeah. Oh, yeah, Newsom got killed in the debate with DeSantis. I reviewed that debate, totally agree. But who else are they going to have? The truth is, Newsom has a lot going for him. He has charisma. Even in that debate with DeSantis, he did what any Democrat needs to do. Stick to the talking points. The media will carry it for you. They will. The media, the algorithm, the censorship, it will carry your message. He's young. He's good looking. You say that doesn't matter. It will. He's a decent speaker. Yep. Grandmas will love him. That's true. Ladies will like him. Right. Very much Trudeau style. That's true. It sucks that that's where we're at, but if that court decision would go Trump's way, they'll panic. Because they're relying on lawfare, censorship, manipulation. That's how they're going to win the election. And I'm saying every day now, they're looking at it. And if they think there's even a reasonable chance, and I mean like 10, 15% chance that Trump beats Biden, they'll pull the plug on Biden. They're not going to take a chance. Now, I wanted to get back to what Lavin said about two terrible candidates. I don't disagree. But people sell short what Trump did. And I say this as someone who's heavily critical of Trump and would have preferred Vivek and DeSantis over Trump. There was probably no one else as an outsider that could have won the 2016 election other than Donald Trump. It had to be a Trump-like person. It had to be someone with a lot of charisma that was talking about the right issues, particularly immigration, that resonated with a bunch of people that were apathetic towards politics. Could potentially a Jeb Bush have beaten Hillary Clinton? Potentially. But that's just the establishment beating the establishment. As far as an outsider going, like, as much as I think Ron Paul is superior to Donald Trump in 95% of ways as a politician, he was never going to win. Even though I think his policies were better, he had a more stable grounding in the Constitution and liberty and things that I think the majority of Americans would have liked. He didn't have the personal financial tools. He didn't have a lot of the charisma that made people excited about Trump. He had a different type of charisma, but Trump winning that election was basically the beginning of his life being ruined as far as being enemy number one for every institution in this country. And I am sympathetic to that. That doesn't excuse the bad choices that he made. But Trump did, I could sit here and Monday morning quarterback Trump till I'm blue in the face. Trump did something I will never be able to even come close to doing. And you can't take that away from him. Of course, what they're doing to Trump won't miraculously end if he wins in November. What they're doing to Trump wouldn't miraculously end if it was DeSantis and not Trump. They would just go after DeSantis in the same way. You don't think they could find that, oh, DeSantis' mortgage was slightly worth more than the tax-assessed value. Oh, look at this. One of these people that was low-level in DeSantis' campaign at one point talked to a guy who was Russian. You don't think it would start all over? Am I streaming tomorrow? Oh, I forgot tomorrow was Super Tuesday. Yeah, I'll probably be on. I don't know how much I'll be following Super Tuesday, but it's super alright. Trump's the nominee. Like, I should read over the summary of the Supreme Court decision. Yeah. Well, he hired John Bolton. He embraced lockdowns. He bombed Syria. He signed the massive spending bills. He didn't pardon people like Julian Assange. He didn't release unredacted all the evidence of the coup against him. He wasn't very good on the Second Amendment. He didn't drain the swamp with people that were doing censorship in his own FBI and other agencies working with social media. Yeah, totally true. Anyways, the point I'm getting at, Lavin, is I understand why people want Trump. I get it. They want the 2016 Trump back again. And they're pissed off that the guy they pick... Again, I don't know anyone who's explained this as well as me, not to toot my own horn, but I am. What January 6th was about was the fact that people who felt that they never had a voice in national politics, some of them their entire life, for 30 years, no one gave a shit about them at all at the national level. No one gives a shit about them culturally. That's why you could go and you could see MSNBC bringing people on writing books about white rural people are a threat to democracy. That's how they're treated, like the enemy. Traditionally, what you have is, you had a bifurcation of institutions. They were sort of going against each other. So there were sort of establishment institutions, such as maybe the media class or, politics, military-industrial complex, etc., that maybe were defending the intel agencies and the military in Vietnam. But then you had other institutions like entertainment industry, academia, young people that were against that. And so you had the underdogs, the revolutionaries, right, that together made sort of an institution that was at least capable of putting up a fight against these establishment institutions. Now that's gone. They've co-opted that. Now it's everyone on the same team. The Antifa guy that's smashing up black-owned homes in the inner city is happily drinking his Starbucks wearing Nikes while they all shout Black Lives Matter. It is a revolution from the top down, sponsored by the very institutions that the people engaged in the revolution claim to be against. But they're all on the same page. And who's the enemy? Who needs to be revolted against? Rural white people. That's who the problem is. That's where all the power is in this country. Rural white people. That's who we need to topple. And so you have these people that never felt they had a voice. And here comes this loudmouth Manhattanite billionaire that's like, hey, I think you people are great. Fuck these people that are criticizing you. Screw the media. And they were like, yes, finally. That's how low the bar was. Someone who basically has no connection to their way of life, just saying you're good people, was enough to make these people crawl over broken glass to support him. That's how little institutional support there is for people like that. And just like with Brexit, the institution said, fine, let him go. Throw him a bone. They'll lose the election, then it'll all be over. But then they didn't lose. They won. And so what happened? These people that said, finally, we have a voice in there that represents us. And what happened? They see that he was every step of the way. Almost every major institution was out to get him. He was illegally spied on. 4 years of Russia being smeared. Riots occurring every day in the summer of love there. And we were told, it's mostly peaceful, no big deal. And I was saying till I was blue in the face when we were talking about the George Floyd riots, I said, this will make riots on the other side inevitable. Because when the lesson learned is you could go smash shit up and rob and loot and attack people with immunity, the other side will say, okay, we'll play that game too. And when that happens, all of the people on the left that were making excuses for the riots will say, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. And that's exactly what happened. Then they saw the mass changing in the way we voted. Then they saw the votes. Well, we stopped counting in the middle of the night, and when we came back in the morning, oh boy, guess what? Miraculously, Biden won. All the bellwethers that normally indicate who wins the presidency, Trump won all those, but trust us. And oh, by the way, it was the most secure election ever. That's what January 6th was about. Now, Lavin, you have to ask yourself, have those people gotten over it? Fuck no. That's right, Lavin. And that's when now they see, holy shit, 92 felonies. They're trying to go after Trump. Trump had classified documents. We're going to go after him. Biden had classified documents. Never mind. He's okay. We're going to go after Trump for campaign finance because he paid an extortionist, Stormy Daniels. But we're not going to go after Hillary's team for campaign finance when they lied about paying or didn't put down that they paid Fusion GPS to work with Russians to smear Trump. We're going to get $500 million. We're going to kick $500 million fine for Trump for doing what every real estate developer does. We're going to kick him off the ballot in Colorado. People are pissed. And the sad part is, Lavin, here's the sad part, Democrats know it. And they use that to their advantage. Because again, they want to face Trump. They didn't want to face DeSantis. So all these ridiculous court cases was a three-pronged strategy. One, try to make Trump the inevitable primary winner. Worked. Second, hopefully the cases win and they use lawfare to keep Trump off the ballot or at least find him guilty of things so that going into the election you could say, see, he's convicted. Or third, those things get overturned and then you could say, see, the Supreme Court's corrupt. And that's exactly what's happening. I preferred DeSantis. I preferred Vivek over DeSantis even. I made no bones about it. I told people. I waited a long time. I waited till the primary started to begin officially before I made an endorsement, which I chose Vivek because as a single issue voter, I think he's the only one that was talking about disbanding the FBI, which for me is the most important issue. But I put DeSantis considerably ahead of Trump on my list. But I'm willing to support Trump. Partially because I think Trump will do some good, but I think he'll fail. I don't think he'll drain the swamp. But more importantly, because at this point, if Democrats win again, if whoever replaces Biden or Biden wins again, they will use that as a mandate to manipulate algorithms and AI and lock up their opponents, etc., etc. I had someone on Twitter today, I did block them, that said that I deserved, because I was pointing out this 9-0 decision, they said I deserve to be in prison. How dare I legally be allowed to work with people with disabilities? See? And they mean it, too. They would cost me my job in a heartbeat if they could. And they may someday. They may cost me my job. What's my crime that I deserve to be in prison and not be able to be employed by people with disabilities? I point out what I see as a double standard in our institutions. That's it. That's the crime. We are seriously coming there. Never forget, under COVID, never forget, almost 1/3 of Democrats thought that your child should be removed from your home if you didn't get the COVID vaccine. There will never be a reckoning for that. There won't be. No, absolutely right, Caps and Reigns. How about Brazil with Bolsonaro? He loses, they immediately try to jail him. Well, that's exactly right, Ninja. That's exactly right. You could just see, you could already see them gnashing their teeth. What if Trump wins and goes after his political opponents? That'd be a threat to democracy. He could try to get Democrats' names kicked off the ballot next time. No, really? No. Say it ain't so. All right. Now, I have some stuff to do here at 9 o'clock. So maybe we'll wrap up now, since we seem to be... But, I'm not one to really rub it in someone's face. I'm not. If you don't believe me, go back when Trump won in 2016. Look at my blog post. I wasn't really rubbing it in people's faces. I know what it's like to have my candidate lose, because my candidate has lost every single national election of my life, barring the 2016 election. So I get it. I know what that's like. And I'm not rubbing it in that people lost an election or something. What I'm laughing at today is the legal experts that everyone who was reasonably objective could see that this Colorado case, where Trump hasn't criminally been accused of insurrection, where they just said, we as a state are going to unilaterally decide without him having a trial, a criminal trial, to see if he's guilty of this. Now we're going to arbitrarily take the front runner from the side we don't like off the ballot. How bad that was. Do I have the article? No, I have the polling. It's a YouGov poll, if you look it up. It also says they think you should be locked up if you weren't vaccinated, etc. That's what's funny to me, these legal and it's constantly. Like, what I want to know is how constantly I'm able to deal with people that call themselves experts in a field and I end up being more right than them. For example, people like Econoboy, who is an expert in the field of economics, widely respected in the field of economics. Somehow I got lockdowns right and he got it wrong. How did that happen when it comes to the economy? Or the virologist that said we need to do lockdown. Somehow I got it right and they got it wrong. Or the biologist that said we need to censor people. It's been debunked that it could have came from a lab in China. Somehow I got it right and they got it wrong. Or the foreign policy experts on Afghanistan or Ukraine or Libya. I don't call myself an expert. How did I get it right and they got it wrong? Or the border. And so it's funny to now see these legal experts, lawyers, people trained in the field. Oh, yeah, absolutely. This Colorado case, it's a slam dunk. How did that happen? 9-0. Hell, if it was a 7-2, I could say, well, I wouldn't laugh so hard. A 9-0. 9-0. So just laugh at the legal experts. And make no mistake about it, though. These legal experts, someday people from their groups will be on courts like the Supreme Court. And they will say, Orange Man bad, or whatever the equivalent is when they get there. They don't give a shit. Again, to go back to Pisco, who deserves to be mocked today. Absolutely laugh at him. I hope he's doing well tonight. Don't take it too hard. Have a Mai Tai or whatever you drink and relax. You've been proven a fool yet again. But it's not his worst moment. You want to look at legal matters? Pisco says, lying to law enforcement's a serious crime. We must charge it. Serious. But when Jamal Bowman lied to them, which Pisco admitted, there's no way Bowman, before he knew what Bowman's statement was, there's no way Bowman didn't intend for that alarm to go off. No way! No way whatsoever. The people saying that are coping. That's bullshit. He knew the alarm would go off. But then when when Bowman told law enforcement, okay, Pisco's a lawyer. Let's say he's a prosecutor, eventually. That's it. Slam dunk. He lied, right? No! Pisco, who would be a prosecutor, would say, but wait a minute, Jamal Bowman's in the right party. So I assume Jamal Bowman's a good guy. So when Bowman says, I did not intend for the alarm to go off, Pisco, the prosecutor, would know. What he meant was, he did intend for it to go off. You see? Now, I don't know what Pisco's role is in the legal system, if he's a defense attorney, if he's not doing like sort of criminal stuff. I don't know. But make no mistake about it, if he was involved. Oh yeah, the transitory inflation, you're right. How was I right about that? Yeah. Pisco's claim was that Trump should be kicked off the ballot. It was a good case. And that he regrettably thought that the court would make the wrong decision, like a 6-3 or a 7-2. But he outlined exactly why. Yeah, it's not. It should be that the states are allowed to make these decisions, and Trump clearly committed an insurrection. It's clearly within the bounds of the states to say the 14th Amendment, Section 3 says that we're allowed to keep insurrectionists off the ballot, and so that's what happened. Mr. Banana Slice, don't come into my channel and tell me what to talk about or not. You're talking about something that's relevant. If you came in late and didn't hear me talking about, don't think that you get to come in and demand what I talk about. Me talking about what you consider relevant is showing the mindset of the people in the legal field and how they'll apply this double standard. So don't fucking act like you're my buddy. Yeah, he lacks common sense. Fuck you, pal. Why don't you talk about something relevant while explaining that you should be allowed to keep in the chat, you fucking loser? How about that? Here's something that doesn't matter like an alarm. Do you have your last thing that you would like to say here before you're kindly removed from the channel? Go ahead, Mr. Banana Slice. Fuckhead. I'm so fucking tired of these people. Oh, you're no better than a fucking whataboutis leftist. Oh, you can't bring up the standards that they apply. Yeah, Banana's been here before. I don't give a fuck. There you go. See you, Banana. You shit, Banana Split. Good one. We're talking about a specific person in the legal field, and we're talking about how they view things, right? And how wrong they were. And we're explaining how they were wrong on this. And they were wrong to the tune of even radical lefty judges like Sotomayor and Jackson ruled for a 9-0 to keep that this Colorado decision was garbage. Then we show, well, look how they look at other legal things. You being upset that I spent 3 minutes talking about that's a waste of time. And again, I understand why people that want... Thank you, Canaclaus. It really pisses me off when people are like, don't talk about that. Don't explain. Like, we're supposed to look at everything in a vacuum. Ridiculous. Anyway, see you, Banana. Alright, who we raiding? Jeez. I don't see anyone. Anyone have a suggestion? Olbermann style. He's got piss on his face. From Hal Peakle. Alright. I don't know who that is, but sounds good. Oh, always going with my recent. He's a UFC fighter. Okay. My recent getting agitated at the end of streams. Man, I fucking hate that. Why are you talking about this? It's too late. I already rated from Hal Peakle. So, alright, I should be on tomorrow evening around 8 p.m. Eastern. We'll see. Thank you so much for everyone. Except people that want to bitch about what I'm talking about. Why would you even be here then? Fuck off. So, thank you all. I appreciate it. Hopefully I'll be streaming tomorrow evening. And as always, have a good one.